Hey there, guys. It's nice to be back out again. Because, yeah, even though this is pre recorded, I just shift over into this mode where I'm suddenly talking to people. And even though really physically talking to people is different than this kind of exercise, there's a pleasant, mercurial vibration going on. So I'm not exactly sure what it is that I want to do other than show you what I've got here, because I've got another crazy, insane, weird project underhand, so to speak. Not underhand or underhanded, but on hand, maybe. That I'm having a lot of fun with. It's also rather, nutty, and there's more mushrooms, I'm afraid. So you just have to cope with the mushrooms, because it's really very much part of my of the fun that I'm having here. Project started, I think, Monday. What with all the collecting and gathering and experimenting with amanitas and all that. And no, the Pantherina still isn't drying. I'm quite confident that it isn't. It's over there, and it's kind of with a closed peg. There used to be a bit of sunshine, so I decided to stick it in there and to see what happens. And so far, no fire in the fireplace yet, because it's warm enough, and we will see what we can see at some point. Maybe tonight we can light the fire in the stove and then or in the fireplace, and then I will stick them in there, and it'll probably be a matter of just an hour or so, and then it'll be fine. It's not like it's the end of the world. I'm surprised at how hard it is to get amanitas to dry. Boletases are, I know mushrooms, it's like the French mushrooms just as well. It's moisture. It's protein and moisture and a couple of other things. So that's what you see, right? So we will see what we can get done with that. Otherwise, in general, I think that I'm a bit PMSy myself. So I'm tired. I don't really feel very. I'm okay. It's a bit lonely over here because there's nobody around. Went to the market this morning, got me veg, got a couple of other necessities and things. And the sun was shining, and I would have liked to hang around on the market or in the shops a bit more. But there were a couple of, people out who were. I kind of attracted attention for some reason, not saying anything or doing anything other than, even without this, without this strikingly different hairband, what do I care? Anyway, I just felt like I just went back home straight away and got on with my project here a bit more. And I had I had a look at somebody's horoscope because we felt, husband and I, it's a work relation of his, that I felt that more should be said about their challenges, the level of the situation they're in. So I think that was useful. It was a bit, I always tend to kind of, when I see a person's birth chart, I kind of absorb a lot from that, even vibrationally. Am I weird or what? Yes, I'm very weird. It's probably just because of not having any boundaries, maybe? Probably. Yeah, that makes quite a bit of sense. Thing is that I can visualize then and sort of trace what it is they're dealing with, how the situation is affecting them, and blah and blah. And it's just really hard. And also, some of it is they don't really have any tools to work with. Normally, I would say that in a birth chart, I think you will always find that there are challenges and there are tools in your birth chart. Anybody has qualities that are challenging or difficult, or that, like, embody a particular process going from A to B. And then, that's a road that you have to travel, or that's a path that you have to more or less willy-nilly take at some point, whether you like it or not. And then there are amenities, maybe. There are things that you can do that you don't value yourself often, that you're really good at, that you can use to help other people, that don't strike you as extraordinary in any way. And maybe you're just, really good at making soup, or you're really good at keeping people's books for them, or you can fix cars, or you can do something else that's really valuable and helps people out, and people, in any way. This kind of stuff has been said before, of course, but it strikes me that this is a person who's in a difficult situation at the moment, and they don't know what to do with themselves, basically. And from their chart, I would say it's the only way to go about things is to go outside more, be in nature, be in the fresh air more than they are at the moment. And there is a redbreast sitting right there. I can't show him to you. That's the male. Hey there, birdie. Because I've got those berries. Remember the berries out there? And the female has been around here a couple of times already. Cats or no cats, they're enjoying the berries anyway. And they're whisking, or one of them is now. Anyway, the male is whizzing around, and now he's in the other bush over there, the hazel bush. So I wasn't feeling, I don't know, somehow there's an inner sense of an inner balance for me that comes with reaching some type of conclusion. And then, of course, I communicated the findings that I had to my husband, and just for him to have, as much as possible, a bit of a sense of where it's all coming from and what was best for him to do, to respond or not to respond. Things tend to get rather negative sometimes. Things tend to get overreactive. People resent things and carry things around with them, and then it's just not comfortable anymore, and you can't make it be more comfortable for a while. And I don't like that one bit. I think we should always try to work our way towards some sense of we will live another day, that type of thing, really. So for me, that means carrying my little baggie of my nice precious little stones that I bought, that I showed you already, my pearls and my the avalonite and all that. That's all in here still. I tend to wear this pouch during the daytime, at least for a couple of hours, not really every day, but regularly. And today I can certainly feel it doing me good again, because it gives me a bit more of a sense of, time and space. And there's always different perspectives. There's always more to be said. There's always space and time for you to, consider things. That's my message, really. It's important. It's important, okay? Let's just not forget about the time and the space here. So, I'm going to show you my project. Here it is. It is actually phase 2, kind of, I think, completed. Or maybe it's phase 2 halfway. I'm going to bring this in really close, like so. These are heptagons, or as they come out of the Word document that I've used, 7-pointed stars. And if you look closely enough, you can see that there are, in between the points of the stars, there are little white flat triangles, making them into heptagons. So a 7-sided surface, okay? And in each of those is a little purple purplish looking pale lavender colored oval, and a picture down the bottom, and it may be not so easy to make out, so I will show them to you again once they're completely done. This is just the sticking and cutting out and gluing phase of the things for you to get an idea of what it is that I'm up to over here. What I've got is 25 of these heptagons here, and they're going to be hepta runes. My hepta rune deck, how awesome is that? I'm crazy, I know, I'm a nut. A 7-sided nut, okay? Please let there not be any photographs upside down in here. No, there aren't, because I've seen this 30 times already. All of them, the little photographs, are one kind of mushroom, except for one, because they're going to be rune cards. Yeah, so they're going to be a rune each, 25, 24 old Futhark plus 1. Yes, I will show them all to you again when they're done, when they're all finished, because there will be another phase to this whole project. Phase 1 being creating the images in WordPerfect, really, seriously, in Word, Microsoft Word on the computer. That just shows how old I am, doesn't it? With the 7 pointed stars that I found in there, that was real easy, way easier than I feared it would be. I wanted 7 sides, I didn't know why yet. By now I do know why. Something I will go into as well at some point. Creating the images, getting the photographs from whichever source I can find them. Let me see how many of these are actually my own. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 photographs of individual square pictures of mushrooms, right, are my own. That's all I had, really, because I have got a zillion photographs of amanitas, and of those you have spotted, of course, there is quite a bit of that in the backgrounds of each image. That's what's coming back everywhere. You see this red and white pattern, and some are green because that's a bit of field that has an amanita in the middle, and then I just stuck the picture that I had, or that I'd chosen, over the top of that. Let me show you. This is one actually that has a little amanita sitting right there. That's just background. See? So here also there's a big amanita in the background. And all the 7-sided, 7-pointed stars have first got an amanita image of some sort. One of a set of 6 or so different types that I used that I thought was fun to use. These photographs I took using a hand-operated, non-automatic, non-computer driven in any way camera that I inherited from my dad, yes, way long time ago. And I think it was somewhere in the early 2000s that I went completely nuts photographing stuff with that camera, because I found out that I could, zoom in really close or use all sorts of lenses that I had and take pics of mountains and glaciers, and it was amazing. It was just so much fun photographing that way. It took a lot of time making those photographs, but now I am reusing them all the time. And I scanned them into the computer, and hence they got into a file from which I can put them in here now. So the idea is to have amanita as like a backdrop to the whole deck, to the front of which we have one type of mushroom per rune. So each rune has its own mushroom association for now. This is not random, but it's also rather ad hoc, potentially. I don't know. It's it went really well. So I felt like, you know, I can actually do a vlog about this. This is not completely, it's not completely random. There's a sense to it. I will also be able to tell, of course, there's going to be a rune in the ovals over there, over the top, in each position at the top of the card, which I think is kind of pretty. And okay, so I only got 9 images of different mushrooms here that I have encountered and photographed also recently, some of them less recently, that I've used for this material. And for the rest, I've just thought rather hard about the kinds that I know or that I've seen often enough in these parts of the world. Also, some of them in order to get to know them a bit better. And so that's also part of this exercise. There's always a little bit of a didactic teaching, self-learning teaching type of an approach hidden somewhere in the work. So phase 1 was setting all this up, choosing, you know, colors for edges and type of stuff like that. And when I was completely satisfied with that, I printed them out, and I used just a little liner and a pencil to draw the lines along the 7 sides, like so, between the points of the stars, to be really sure that when I cut them out of the A4 white printing paper, that I would get the right shapes and they would all be the same. That worked pretty fairly well. Got that all laid out this just an hour ago or so. Then I glued together a side that is red cardboard and a side that is wallpaper, again, because I still have loads of that and it's getting used for this, you know, why not? And I stuck the images that I cut out onto the wallpaper side of things, so that when I cut each of these out in total, there will be red on the back, and there will be the image on the front, and there will be you will see a little white edge, but of course the whole thing will be edged at some point as well. And when they're all cut out, that will be the end of phase 2, the actual gluing and cutting and gluing and so on and so forth. And then there's the interesting bit, phase 3, where I will be using inks and paints and maybe markers and pencils and dyes and gold also, that I've still got, nice gold paint, to work on these cards again, to fill in these little white triangles. And I plan also to use mushroom ink for that. So just at least for the outer edges, I will paint in the runes. I will probably also add in names, or the Latin names of the mushrooms, whatever, something that comes to mind like that. And here we come to the bit about the 7-pointed star again, that may be of interest to some of you guys. I realized, I think yesterday when I was in bed, or yesterday evening, that the 7 are of course important in magical terms. It's a magically powerful number. It's also in the tree of life, the part of the tree that is in manifest world, in the manifested world. Let me say that properly. So one way of looking at that is that the 7 old school planets, so Sun through Saturn, okay, can be used to represent those parts of the manifested world. And I'm not even sure at this point whether it's the way the Kabbalah really strictly applies this, or whether even I think there's quite a number of people who do work with Kabbalah without any astrological or planetary associations. But it works for me. It has worked really well for me to sort of figure out the actual relevance and the difference between the two sides of the tree of life and all that by looking at them from the viewpoint of the planetary associations. That makes a lot of sense to me. So I was thinking that I might couple that to this by putting planetary symbols in each of the 7 points of the card. I'm not completely sure I will actually do it, because it will depend on whether it makes some type of sense. For example, there are, of course, it's elements, right? It is energetic nature. So it would be the 7 planets in a particular setup. It will be different if you put the sun at the top of your set of 7, or the moon, or Mars. Some of that would actually have to portray to me satisfactorily the nature of this mushroom, where there are a few that I really know rather well, like the Amanita by now. So maybe it's going to be an ongoing bit of a process to determine that, to decide, okay, so this is a type of mushroom that I've seen only once or maybe never. This is a mushroom I've seen a couple of times, but not often enough to be able to know, or, you know, it's only something to work with. It's like it's going to be a particular setup. It also not only has to go with the mushroom on the picture, it has to go with the rune. So yeah, not so easy. Maybe I will just skip this. I don't know. It's just that the fact of the 7-fold miracle here is kind of appealing to me, and I found it interesting that it would actually link up so well with this planetary division in the dividing up of the world into tendencies that belong with one planet or another, or several at, different moments in time and stuff like that. So lots of fun, especially finding all my old pics again, finding new pictures of shrooms that I've never really seen in real life. There's way too many that I've never seen, also because the Netherlands, it's not like it's all over the place. It's the right time of year. Certainly now, I'm finding that in the last week or so, it's been growing quite a bit, also around town here. So I've seen quite a number, hence also the Pantherina that I've harvested. There's lots of stuff that I've no idea what they are, and no real way of telling, other than I do have a couple of books, of course, where I can look stuff up, and I'm not ingesting or eating anything that I don't know for 120% sure what it is, obviously. So there's a couple of these that I really know rather well. There's the Boletuses, there's a chicken of the woods mushroom that I photographed myself that was really easy to incorporate, and some of it is basically just also an expression of a particular, it's just an image, right? It's not like I'm taking this all the way to the hilt totally seriously. It's supposed to be interesting looking and colorful, and we will see. And I will have a rune deck, which was something I didn't have. I only had my little set of, actually 2 sets of runes, one of which I am actually using, that are my mum's, that she cut the wood for and polished, and I burnt the runes into them 20 years afterwards. And I use that on and off now and again, and I have found it to work using the runes, to pulling the runes like that. I found to be interesting and supportive recently. Yes, definitely. So there's more going on between me and the runes now than before, and hence also this project. So lots of fun, tons of time. I do have time. It looks like I'm the only one who's got time for anything in the world that is personal and kind of private, and who gets a chance to evaluate things and look at things and journal and stuff like that without being yanked off one job and shoved into the next one, like as if you were a part of a machine, really, which I'm not part of the machine. I am part of the machine to the extent that I have to, make sure my husband is not falling to pieces. And that's sometimes a bit more work, yes, because he's not really the most explicit person around, and sometimes he's got worries and things that are on his mind that he doesn't really talk about. And then it gets, it gets kind of, wouldn't say hairy necessarily, but it gets a bit worrisome and a bit, we're human. So yeah, up and down a bit. And what with my dad, trying to talk to him, I'm kind of, I'm really glad that I can sort of have a normal conversation with him. It's kind of, long overdue on some ends, and it's not easy on other ends. And my foster mother has passed away, which is, I think, also quite fine because she was 90 and there was time for her to go and all that. And changes, and Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, and then a full moon square to that, and imploding, crumbling walls of Jericho and that kind of, it just feels that way. So I feel, I'm also telling myself this, I'm much more aware of everything around me. I feel the need to draw myself inward, to be strong, to have a sense of balance as much as possible, to, just keep track of things. I'm reminding myself of things so as to, make myself deal with things much more than before. And that's also challenging, there's benefits and there's challenges. So there you go again. The thing also is that they're cutting down quite a number of trees in my park over there, and that's been a bit dramatic and upsetting to me, because there's corners that they've completely messed up. There were bits that was just really old willow trees covered in ivy and stuff like that. And you've been along on walks there with me quite a number of times, and some of that, not all of it, but some of it is gone. And I heard them this morning again sawing away and grinding and yowling machines and all that. And I just haven't dared after last week, Thursday, when I decided purposefully to go on the bike, through the whole region to see how far it had all gone. I will probably do that again next week or so, one more time, when hopefully at some point they will actually be done with this. And of course, nature always recuperates from these types of invasions. But to me, it felt like a nice bit of, secluded, almost private, but outside in the fresh air, and also outside with where other people come. Also, bit of space has been destroyed basically. And I also know that part of that is sentiment or an emotion. It's a valued, or how do I put that? It's a worthwhile type of emotion, but it's an emotion that belongs with that particular corner of the park from 6 years ago. So it's not like it is actually completely, totally relevant to me at this moment. It's more like a part of a interaction that I have with myself also. And I wasn't really ready to let this go like this. So I have been sitting there. I used to sit there on one of those benches by those trees, looking out over the lake, when I needed to recuperate, to have a bit of fresh air, and to, make sense of things, or just generally, you know, make myself be okay again in whatever way. I tend to really do that. And not necessarily always in that location. There's a couple more of those benches out there, and there's a couple, but I just didn't want them to mess with this. I didn't want this to happen, okay? And now it has, and all I can do is just, on the one hand, tell myself, okay, so this is a fact of life and you just have to acknowledge it and move on. And on the other hand, also, I want to not ignore the way it makes me feel anymore. So I'm going into this in a bit more details to describe for you what it is that I do with things nowadays. It's part of self-love. It's part of self-care to, for me, know that when I'm printing my stuff out upstairs and I'm hearing the sawing and the grinding over there, then it makes me go, ouch, again. It makes me, my whole energy goes down like that, because it's not like I'm completely depressed instantly, but I know that I don't like what they're doing now and what it will look like when I finally pluck up the courage to go back there. And it's my park. It's everybody's park. You know why? Well, the thing is, the reason why is that what they told me is that some of those willow trees were really bad on the inside. And we've had a couple of bad storms during the winters in the past couple of years. And each time half of the trees is, you know, broken off and sprawled all over. And there's danger in that, of course. And this is a very densely populated country. So people tend to be really protective, and they'd rather not have. And I know also, and that's also something I keep telling myself, next year this time, it will all be, they said they were going to replant a couple of trees anyway, and everything will have disappeared, because there's loads of elder trees out there, and they will just sprout out again in the springtime, and in a month it'll all look completely gorgeous again. So I know that. I know it's going to be fine. But it takes some time to realize that, to reconnect with that. And it's like a bit of a hilly, bumpy ride like that for me to get to that type of realization. So hence also the cards, because I think I was looking for, basically I was looking for an association between runes and mushrooms, which I thought was hilarious to work on. And the other thing is mushrooms are, of course, very pagan. So the pagan dimension has everything to do for me with the contact with nature and the realization, the awareness, I should say, that we are really part of nature, very much, and everything in us is nature. Really, even though we don't make it out as such or can't tell that it is. Everything is nature. So on that note, on that bombshell, I will buckle it up for now, and I will start cutting out my my cards here. And I will probably not get back to the camera for a while. Tomorrow I will be at the home, where was it? Local history group in the afternoon, seeing where that takes me. So hopefully that goes well. So wish me luck. Thank you for watching, and see you again soon. Okay, ciao, ciao.